Welcome to Beth's Happy Home. I've had a couple of requests to show how to make a zippered pocket in a tote bag, and so I'm just going to really quickly show you the easiest way that I've found, and it is quite easy. The first thing to do is to mark the position of the pocket on the outside of the tote bag where you want it to be. And so this one is going to be 6.5 inches from this edge. So I'll mark that there. This is the center of the tote bag right there. And then you want those marks to be about 1/2 inch less distance than the length of your zipper. So here's my zipper, and I'm going by the length between this and this. So here's my other mark right here. I want it to be 6.5 inches down from the top so I can get this nice and straight. That's going to be right there. I'm going to connect these lines. Just for a point of reference, it's easier if they're marked on this fabric. Then you take your pocket fabric and you cut the width of the pocket about 3 inches wider than you're going to want your zipper, because you're going to have generous seam allowances and you're going to have, you want a little bit of extra width on the sides of the pocket anyway. And so you're going to cut the pocket. This is a 7.5 inch zipper, so this is 10 inches wide. And then for the depth of the pocket, the bottom corner of this tote bag is going to be right here, and you don't ever want your pocket to go longer. You don't want it wrapping around the bottom of your tote bag. And so this pocket is, I've cut this pocket like this so that it will ride like this right here on the inside, of course. And then so this is going to be the pocket right here, and then I added on this width right here because of the method I'm going to show you. So you figure out the width of the pocket that you want and the length. The width is determined by the length of the zipper plus 3 inches, and then the length of the pocket is at least 2 inches shorter than where the bottom edge of the tote bag is going to be. And so in this case, my pocket is going to be 8 inches deep plus 1.25 inches on the bottom. So then make a little clip with your scissors so that you have the top of the fold marked. And then you're going to mark the middle of your pocket. You can see I've already got this marked for the sake of quickness. There's the middle of the pocket, and then you're going to reproduce that 7-inch line from the middle of the pocket. So that would be 3.5 inches on each side. So we'll go 3.5 that way, 3.5 this way, and make a line. So there's that's going to be the line that you use to gauge your stitch line. Now pin this into place, matching the line on the pocket with the line on the bottom. Now note that, let me make sure it's in the frame. Note that the longer side is toward the top and the shorter side is on the bottom. That's the way you want it because it's going to fold over. And poke the pin through. Make sure you get it right where you want it. And mark the middle as well. Now this is going to be our stitch line. We're going to stitch 1/4 inch on all sides of that line right there. So position your machine right with the needle right on the end of this mark. leave the needle sunk down as you turn the fabric. Sink it down again, turn the fabric again. Make sure you get it flat. Sink it down, turn it around. Forward and back. Okay, that is done. All right, now we've got this all stitched into place on the right side of the fabric. So I'm going to fold it right on that half mark and cut almost to the end, but not quite. So I'm going to cut on that line like this. Then right when I get here, I'm going to cut to the corners so that I can turn this to the inside. So I'm marking them for your benefit. Okay, cut right up to the corner, as close as you can get without cutting through the stitching. Okay, now that I've got that clipped, I'm going to stuff this pocket through that hole. The outside. So now you want to flip it into the same position it was in before, with the top up, so that you have this opening, and then I'm going to take it up and press it really flat. Alright, now I have this gap. You can see the table through there. So this is the gap that I just created. Here's the top of the pocket sticking up the top. And the next thing to do is to, with the top of the pocket sticking up at the top, I'm going to slip this zipper into this gap. And so pin the zipper into place with the track centered in the gap. So get it good and straight and just pin it into place. And instead of pinning it across the zipper the way you would ordinarily do, you pin it lengthwise so that you don't get it bunching up. And you really just kind of need to hold it in position well enough so that you can position it as you go, as you stitch it on the machine. Once I get this pinned into place with this half, I'm going to start stitching this here. I'll stitch all the way around there, and then I will open the zipper down here and finish stitching up there, and that way that tab won't be in the way. Okay, I'm also going to put a pin up here to keep this part of the pocket out of the way as I stitch. And I'm going to put another one down here to capture the pocket that's underneath here, just so that they don't flop up and get caught in the zipper. So just go around and top stitch all the way around that opening. Right, I've got my needle on the left. I'm starting in the middle of the zipper. Now I want to cross the zipper where there isn't that little metal tab, and I'm going to do that very carefully. spin it around. I can feel where the tab is, and it's clear of it, where the needle is going to ride right there. But you need to make sure that you don't hit that tab. Point, you can zip it almost all the way up, and that's going to hold the track in the right position. Turn it. Get that tab out of the way. The zipper is in place. All right, this is what it looks like on the outside. The zipper is in place, but there's nothing behind it because this was pinned up, taking the pin out. So flip it to the other side now. Take out the pin that you had holding it in place on the bottom too. Now you fold this down to meet the edge, and you're going to stitch right through the zipper tabs, but you're going to again avoid these little tabs right here, the little metal stops that you have on the zipper. So about 1 inch in from the edge of the pocket, stitch all the way around, and your pocket is finished. So I'll put a couple of pins to hold it. And so you see that that extra 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches that I had at the top, this piece, it folds over the zipper, and that takes up the difference between the two edges, so that now these edges meet. Okay, I'm ready to stitch. I've got the rest of the tote bag pulled out of the way, so I'm only stitching on the pocket, and I'm going to do it on the 3/4 line right here. And I use a pretty small stitch so that you get a nice tight pull it around so that it's flat here, and make sure that you can feel those zipper tabs in there, so because you're going to stitch those in. Stitch them down. Alright, I am going to run a zigzag stitch around the edge of this pocket now, or go around it with my serger, so that they are good and strong, because that pocket's going to get some wear and tear on that seam. Alright, this zippered pocket is all done. This is what it looks like on the other side. I'm going to press this so that it lies nice and flat on the inside of the tote bag, but now I'm ready to stitch up the rest of the tote bag. Hey, give it a try. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks for watching.